I had a look at the professional trolling that was going on from Exoprimal. It was absolutely brilliant. And then there was a few people in there who must have been Russian or Belarusian, saying Sony are racially discriminating against them for not selling their games or products in Russia anymore. Thinking, one, it's not discrimination, and two, definitely not racially based.
I'm not sure I agree with it, but it's certainly not that. There's a very good reason for why they're doing it.
And we're live.
Don't you think I'm so sexy? I'm just so fresh, so clean. Hello, we are Pixel Pints. We are the only podcast that talk about two things that we enjoy, which is good beer and video games. We're not here to promote drinking. Please drink responsibly. Please Elden Ring responsibly as well. Liam, thank you for dragging yourself away from Elden Ring to talk to humans.
I was actually playing it right before this.
I assumed you were. What else? You can follow us at Pixel_Pints on Twitter and at Pixel Pints Pod on Instagram. You can find all of our episodes archived on our YouTube channel, and we have our audio versions via Anchor.fm, so you should be able to pick up that in your iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify feed. Wherever you think that you might find a podcast, you will find us idiots rabbiting on nonsense. That's about it, isn't it? Thanks for listening.
And we're out.
And on that note, right. So, Liam, how are things with you? Normally, I'd start with Mitch, but he's got some news.
Oh, well, yeah, things are great with me. Like I said, I was telling Mitch earlier that having Horizon Forbidden West, which I've hardly played since Elden Ring came out, and playing Elden Ring is very difficult. Like, having both of these games out at the same time, there's always a part of my mind that's wishing I should be playing Horizon right now, but I can't stop playing Elden Ring. And last night I rage quit the shit out of that game because, oh my god, I kept having a few cheap deaths and it was really getting on my nerves. And then I just turned it on again this morning, and yeah, I can't help myself.
What build are you running in your Elden Ring?
Oh, I'm running.
I'm just being polite. I don't actually care. So, Mitch. Mitch, how are things in LA?
Things are great. Things are great. I guess.
You have a special announcement that you would like to announce to the announcees.
Yes, I have an exclusive to the podcast.
Is it more exciting than Elden Ring? Surely not.
Well, it affects my life, so I better hope it is.
Oh, what?
Elden Ring affects people's lives as well. Much more.
Yeah. It's very.
Is it the way people are talking about it online? You'd think it was the only thing in the world happening at the moment.
Yeah, you think God dropped a game, and apparently was that.
The only way Elden Ring could be better. Sorry, Liam. Who are you?
A few years ago, the world was changed by Breath of the Wild, and now it's been changed again.
Well, the only way that those two games, which are quite possibly the two greatest games ever made, the only way that they could have been made better is if God himself, Hideo Kojima, was working on them.
That's the only way you could top that, is being like, Kojima made this game.
Yeah, Kojima Souls. That's going to be the next one, and it won't receive perfect 10s out of 10s. They'll have to come up with a new scoring metric.
Yeah, they're like, this is at 11. We made a new scale just because this game beat it.
I can see IGN.
Oh, Jesus. No, I do have a special announcement. Obviously, I have been working very hard over the last about year and a half. I moved out here to LA 2 years ago, and then unfortunately COVID happened. I was working with Shane Satterfield at Sifted to kind of work my way into working in the games industry, which was my dream in any capacity. Like, for me, I didn't care what capacity that was, and unfortunately because of COVID I had to leave that, and so I've been trying to find a way back in the industry. And I'm so excited to announce that I have agreed to terms, signed my NDA and everything. So I start on next Monday, the 21st. I am an employee of not just a game studio. I'm an employee of one of the best studios in the industry, and that is Naughty Dog here in Los Angeles.
Yeah. It's official. Mitch has taken a job as lead sanitation officer at Naughty Dog Studios.
No, I actually am working in the game development sector. So it's not just like the marketing department or anything like that. It's I'm actually working on helping to mold the games that we all get to make, we all get to play, which is amazing. So wanted to just make a couple things abundantly clear because of the podcast. I still will be on the podcast. There are things I cannot say on this podcast now, fellas. I cannot talk, and I'll just lay it out ahead of time for people. I'll probably have to say it a few more times so people understand what the gist of what I can and cannot say. But these guys know what I can and cannot say as well, so that kind of helps because they will not pressure me to trick me or anything like that. But basically,
no, we'll just joke about it, but then appreciate when you just don't say anything.
Exactly. I can't speculate on any rumors that are out there in the ether. I can only, and that's on any Sony property made by Sony Computer Entertainment. I can only talk about things that have been released out into the ether. So that would be, I can talk about things about the state of play and the information that was released on the state of play. I can comment about the company and say if I do or do not like something that they're doing as a company, but about a project being made or a project not being made, I can't say anything about that. So I'm just excited. Like it's a new chapter, and I'm just super excited. Sorry, one last thing. I spent 1 year, almost a full year applying, and I spent over 174 resumes. I sent those out to different positions, and probably about 85% of them required a cover letter. So like, for the people out there that like want to pursue something, like do it, just do it. Like there is going to be times when you want to give up. There was a couple times I wanted to, and I had a good friend of mine, actually friend of the podcast, Vin Hill from Polygon Forest. Like he's been kind of an influence to help me kind of work my way through this avenue because he works in the industry, and it's been he's talked me back into like keep trying, and not only did I get a shot, I got like the shot, and I'm so pumped to like work with Naughty Dog. This is amazing. I'm gonna be shocked until I show up on that Monday and like see what's going on.
Yeah, make sure you take something for your first day.
Take something.
Yeah, cakes.
Oh, something from
donuts.
The studio.
Because I'm guessing you're going to be working extremely hard, so make sure you hit that staff canteen, and then you'll save yourself a fortune on your own food. That is if they actually don't do an Activision and force people to buy the food.
I mean, I've been to JabX, which is a studio here in Cambridge that works on RuneScape. Their kitchens are crazy. Like I can only imagine what the kitchens of Naughty Dog are like.
Mitch gets a job at one of the most famous and influential game studios in the world, and Liam and I are talking about what the canteen's going to be. All right, many congratulations, Mitch, on your final. We've known about it for a couple of weeks now, but
the process
no one
was
else
like a
has.
month. Like it was a constant interviews for like a month. It was crazy. I also want to say, fellas, I'm outside the room door right now.
Well, you're just kind of peering through.
At least I'm outside.
You're in the building.
I'm in the building.
You're not in the room. You're in the building. Yes, but we can still hold everything against you personally for anything we may or may not like.
Absolutely,
because that's just how the internet works.
So I'll just be very quiet when we talk about rumors with anything regarding Sony Computer Entertainment.
Well, you know what you could do when it comes around to whatever E3 looks like. You could just mute yourself and blank your screen and just have the Naughty Dog logo And then when just listen in, and then you could be playing. You could get everyone at work to play rumor bingo. So because you'll know all of the rumors, and then we could guess, and then you could go back and these.
I finally should say, just to be, and I'm only saying all this stuff because of my NDA, and I need to make sure I make it abundantly clear about a couple things, just for legal legal basis. But I am speaking for me as an individual. I do not speak for the Sony Computer Entertainment for my opinions.
Or Naughty Dog.
Or Naughty Dog. So just make
one thing that we need to make clear as well is, Mitch, how do you feel about Bethesda Studios?
Oh, they make such amazing video games. We got to see one today, the other day. It was so pretty. It was so pretty. Actually,
and not just Ghostwire Tokyo, right, Mitch? Not just Ghostwire Tokyo. All of the other ones too, right?
All of the games.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes, but Ghostwire Tokyo will be my favorite. Because I really loved that trailer.
Actually, the more I've been quite down on Ghostwire Tokyo, but the more I see of the actual gameplay, the more I think it looks interesting. I mean, I don't care about the cutscenes. The cutscenes look terrible.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But I think is more
shown
about
in the English voice acting.
But I do.
Well, I don't mind that because the whole thing about Ghost of Tsushima, I would have quite happily played that in Japanese or with subtitles, except my brain couldn't get over the fact that the lip sync was off.
Mm-hmm.
The Japanese voice acting don't sound terribly good.
Which I will say, the outfit choices in Ghostwire Tokyo I really like.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's been a while since I've liked outfit choices in modern day clothes, and I like some of his outfits. I dig it. I was like, I wish I could have that jacket.
We're jumping ahead, but just one final thing. Of course, there's creepy schoolgirls. You might as well just put that in. It's a Japanese game. Creepy schoolgirls.
Why is Evan not in this episode? Like, he could explain this
all to us.
It's
too early in the morning for him. But it's almost like we're designing a game in Japan. Do we have creepy schoolgirls? Yes, tick. Right, great.
Well, I think when the game comes out and we are playing this game, that maybe we should have a playthrough with Evan playing with us, and then Evan explaining to us about how messed up this is, and like, that's not based in Japanese culture. That is based in Japanese culture. That isn't based in Japanese culture.
Look, more creepy schoolgirls.
Before we get to the topic, I'm sorry, Keith. How are you? We had this amazing news, and I completely forgot about you as a
I haven't got
host.
any amazing news. I live off the fact that you've had some good news.
My news helps your news.
Well, I'm glad that. Well, I'm not. Would I say glad? Can people shut up about Ryan Tannehill? He's been the best quarterback for Tennessee for a generation, pretty much.
But you will admit, if you got Aaron Rodgers, it would have been better.
Aaron Rodgers. There was no chance of Aaron Rodgers going to Tennessee.
He bought a house.
None.
Rumor he bought a house.
No way. There's not. The entire state of Tennessee isn't big enough for his ego. The TV market isn't there for him to have the same notoriety. It just wouldn't have happened. They could have chucked $400 million at him in a 4-year contract, and he still wouldn't have done it. Anyway, but moving on from sports, because there's no sports in video games, like there's no politics in video games, apparently.
Well, I mean, technically they combined two, because technically FIFA pulled the German team off the FIFA football game. So there you go, sports
Russian
football.
team.
Sorry, yes, Russian. Sorry, my bad.
The other things that EA have done that they need to be credited for, because I bash on EA a lot, but credit where credit's due. Because of Russia's draconian laws against homosexuality and trans people, they pulled The Sims from sale in Russia. So rather than take that out of the game just to sell in Russia, they just said, right, we won't sell it to you then.
And they did all of that before this Ukraine business.
Yeah, beforehand. So credit where credit's due to the gambling addicted company that is EA.
Credit.
And on that note, let's talk about beers.
I do not have a beer because it is early in the morning. And not only is it early in the morning, America had daylight savings time this morning, fellas, which means you spring forward. We lose 1 hour. I am tired.
Yeah, we get that.
It is my hypothetical 6:30 a.m.
I say we get daylight 7 times in a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, 2 weeks time.
Yeah.
It was weird though. I was playing tennis, and usually I was playing like between 3 and 5 p.m. And usually by the end of the 5 p.m. it gets dark to the point where you have to turn on the lights to light up the court. It was still super sunny out, and then the lights turn on, and then you just hear that hum, the ding, constantly while we were playing for the rest of the time. I was like, dude, do you not see it's daylight savings time? It has not happened yet. It's just like, these lights should not be on.
Right, I do have beers. This is the first time I have Yuzu Lager, which I actually drank last night, but I saved the can because I think the can is quite cool. And this is the first time Evan's had these on the show. Well, from Hitachino Nest Beer, but he's not seen this one, interestingly. And this is the first time I've seen any Japanese craft beer in the UK. So I thought, I'm getting some. And it's actually, I don't know if people are familiar with Shandy, but it's like the...
Oh, in the US we are, because Leinenkugler's have a really famous summer shandy.
This is the most natural tasting shandy that I've ever had. Sometimes if you just add lemonade, as we would call it in the UK, I don't know what you would... because lemonade in the US means something very different.
What does it mean in the UK?
It's like a carbonated lemon drink, like a soda.
Oh.
But it's like a Sprite. But,
see, for us, it's lemons and sugar and water.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about shandy, you get like just over half a pint of lager, and then you top it up with lemonade, or as you would call it, Sprite. Or lemon flavored soda. But this tastes so much more natural, and it's even less carbonated than most lagers. I would easily cane about 10 of these on a summer's day, which would be dangerous because they're 5.5% ABV.
Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly. What I'm going to go on to is from the same place there, Red Rice Ale.
Okay.
Which is slightly stronger at 7% ABV. But it's definitely red.
Ooh.
I'll just see if I can tilt that so you can read.
This featuring your brand new mug from your
Featuring
birthday.
my brand new tankard, which I got for my birthday, which says, "What doesn't kill you gives you XP." Wow, that's sweet.
Leveled up.
That is really sweet. It's got a kind of strawberry, raspberry flavour to it that I wasn't expecting at all.
Is it labeled on there strawberry raspberry? Well, is it in Japanese?
No, they've got the import labels on. A beautiful pink-coloured ale brewed with ancient red rice, asamurasaki. Totally butchered that, Evan. You can call me out on that. Moderate bitterness with pleasant acidity with hint of fruits. It's more than a hint. That's a slap in the face.
Every time he takes a sip, I'll make sure I'll get the slap.
That is really... It's not unpleasant. It's just unexpected that it's that fruity. I'm quite enjoying it. It's smooth. It would be a great thing if you're having a bit of a if you drink the same thing too much, your palate just goes completely and you can't taste anything anymore. That would be a brilliant palate cleanser because it would just liven everything up. Yeah, pleasantly surprised. It wasn't cheap though.
Is it good dessert beer?
Yeah,
like an after dinner beer that you're like, oh, I don't want to have cheesecake. I want to have.
Yeah, I'll have a red rice ale.
A strawberry and raspberry.
Hitachino Nest beer. Yeah. Cheers. This is enjoyable.
Cheers. I'm assuming Liam has nothing?
No.
That's okay. That's okay.
Keep it up, condition.
Because, we only have a small segment for beer because the most important thing is the games.
Pixels.
Pints and pixels. And pixels are better than pints. I do spend more time playing games than I do drinking, which is probably a good thing.
Help you.
Yeah, we might have to have a conversation if you're drinking more than playing video games.
Right, so we are going to talk about the most recent state of play briefly, and then Mitch, you wanted to expand that topic into all of the states of plays in Statesville.
Well, not just states of plays like Nintendo Directs, whatever they call the Xbox one. I forgot what it's called.
I don't even watch them. They're so.
I don't.
Well, whatever the Xbox one is, like
it's just these 5-minute things with Major Tom. Is it?
Yeah, something like that. So, like, basically just the state of the industry with how they're transferring, giving out info about stuff. Because we've gone through this experiment for about 2 years now, with like both companies really kind of utilizing it, except Xbox not as much, but at least Sony and Nintendo have been pushing through this method. So it'd be interesting to talk about like our thoughts of like what are our thoughts, how far we like it.
First things first. Let's go through we won't talk about all the stuff that we already know about from last week's state of play. So let's talk about the new things that were announced.
Well, I just want to say, and I said it earlier, I am more excited about Ghostwire Tokyo than I was before after seeing that trailer.
And I said the same.
And
so we can agree on.
And I was shocked by that.
We can agree on that. Overall, I was pleased that it was short.
I mean, they're all 30 minutes. I don't know why people.
I don't know. I watched them on particularly this one. I watched at 2.5 times speed so that I could get through it.
I mean, all of them are usually 30 minutes, 45 minutes the most if they're like targeting a certain game.
1.5 times speed, because 2.5, that would be a bit stupid. I wouldn't have seen anything. So they kicked off with JRPG Anthem plus dinosaurs.
Oh, can I just say, I was so scared when I was first I saw Capcom, then I saw dinosaurs, and I was like, Dino Crisis? I mean, I liked, for Dino Crisis, there's the two avenues. There's the survival horror version, which is pretty good, but my personal favorite was kind of the arcadey version, which was the second one, where you like got points when you killed the dinosaurs and you upgraded your weapons, and that's how you got ammo. I thought it was a really cool system. But anyway, I first thought, I was like, Dino Crisis? And then they showed the girl, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Regina. No, don't do this to me. Don't do. And then she spoke Russian, or had a hard accent that I thought was Russian, and I was like, oh no, please don't be Dino. And then it wasn't Dino Crisis. Thank God. I had a mini heart attack.
I had the exact same reaction.
I was like, please don't be that. Please don't do this to me. I want another Dino Crisis, but not this. It's like World War Z meets dinosaurs.
Well, it's for me, it was Earth Defense Force with dinosaurs crossed with Anthem. That's what this game seems to feel like. One thing that confused the hell out of me was in one of the scenes in the trailer, someone is wearing an exosuit and then they get into a slightly bigger exosuit. So that I'm not quite sure on the rules of this universe about how many suits that you can wear. Do they just keep getting bigger? Is that why they had a Russian person on it? Because they're like Russian dolls. You just keep getting into a slightly bigger and bigger.
I will admit the cool concept I did see was when he had the shield and he kind of used it as like a battering ram / like collector, where he just collects them all at the shield and they all just kind of funnel in. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat concept. I haven't seen games do that. That was kind of cool.
That's just ripped straight off of Reinhardt from Overwatch.
Well, I have not seen it from another game, so I'm giving it credit.
I mean,
where credit's due.
one thing that I would say about that, though, is it doesn't have the physics of it, with all of the dinosaurs sort of getting bashed away by the shield. Seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, for a game I won't play, it's cool.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like shovelware like a lot of these kinds of games do. It looks like they've actually put some effort into designing the systems and.
Speaking of shovelware, the next brand new announcement was Gundam Evolution.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Dear God, that looked terrible.
I'm sorry. And maybe it's just and Liam might agree with me. My generation seems to not care as much about Gundam. Like, I think Gundam was just after.
It seemed like the
it was
developer
just
of this
before
game
us.
doesn't care that much about Gundam.
That too.
Yeah,
The character models
I
were
feel like
awful.
nobody cares about Gundam outside of Japan.
I think Americans do. I think it's just an older audience, unfortunately. Like, older than us, Liam.
Yeah.
Like, that was the time when Gundam was hot.
I mean, I never cared about Gundam because we had Evangelion and.
I remember seeing one Gundam show and I thought it was pretty good, but besides that, like, Gundam has not been built into my childhood either, so therefore, like, the careness level is very low. But I know Gundam was bigger years before that, so like I do see an audience for it, but like the game itself doesn't look that great. I'm 35.
It doesn't look great.
Well, here you go.
It was one of the poorest looking games I've seen in a long time. From allegedly a big something that's backed by this big franchise that's had loads of traction over the years. And you can just have all of the Gundams just look so matte and boring.
Well, okay. For context, Swanland put some stuff on chat, so I just wanted to give him, as he said, as long as they aren't going to reveal Bloodborne 2 or Silent Hill at a state of play, you are fine. And then he said, I always laugh when people expect that. And the final thing he said, which kind of go back to my last point I was saying really quick, he says, I'm 35 and like Gundam. So I was like, that's the kind of the age level. I was thinking like 35 and up, basically, or like 35, 40s is usually like the tier I think Gundam was bigger. But go ahead.
I just think whether you like it or not, you can't negate the fact that the gameplay that they showed and the character models that they showed just look bad.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, I thought it looks like a very generic Call of Duty-like shooter in a world where you're playing as a giant robot and you've got these environments that just look like corridors. But
it's a 6v6 multiplayer shooter.
Just uninspired.
I'm struggling to see who this is marketed for. I know this was a Japanese focused thing, and obviously Gundam is going to be bigger in Japan than the West. But I struggle to see who this is going to be for.
You think it'll be able to be ported to like phones in that, and maybe that's why it's like Japanese market, because like that's the thing is like handhelds and phones are huge because of the commute that people do in Japan, and like people don't drive as many cars in Japan as they do in like other countries, and so therefore, maybe it's meant to like transfer to the phone or like handhelds.
Yeah, or maybe it's going to be a streaming focused,
or maybe it's a timed exclusive. It'll go to Switch soon.
It looks like it wouldn't on Switch. It looked like a Switch game. Oh, that's a insult and a half, isn't it? Right, next something that a few people will care about, but apparently in the multiplayer doesn't work too well. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection.
I mean, I didn't play those games, the ones listed. There was one game I was hoping that would be on there, but I didn't think it was going to make it because of licensing rights, because it was on I want to say it was on the Nintendo DS, and it was from the iteration that was on, like the Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid. So it's a different version of the characters a little bit. I've
played the arcade game that's on there. I will definitely play that again. I played the Game Boy game that I think was in the trailer.
I mean, it's a good teaser to get ready for Shredder's Revenge. I mean, but they're coming from different studios. Doesn't matter.
I would agree with you. I am way more excited for the .emu Shredder's Revenge just because how much I love what they did with Streets of Rage 4.
But I think what's so smart about it is for the people like myself who had not played the first couple ones, it gives you an opportunity to play before you play Shredder's Revenge, so you have some context. Even though you really don't need them for like those types of games, but it's still nice.
I'll say from an outsider that doesn't give two shits about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'd say the fact that there's 13 games in that collection, that's pretty awesome. It makes me feel good for people that actually like them. I was never into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
How much do we think this is going to be sold for?
£40.
40?
Yeah,
I believe the price has already been set.
I think it would be $40. Yeah, $40.
I think
if that is,
I think it is $40
for that many games. I would say $40.
I'm never paying that much for that.
Keith,
13 games, not bad.
Keith, you must answer the question. Unfortunately, Liam can't answer because he's not as much of a fan. Unless he wants to, he can. What is your turtle?
Oh, Leonardo.
See, I like Leonardo, but what happened was in college there was 4 of us, and one of the roommates had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cups that we would use when we would drink in college. I got Michelangelo. I still have it. It came with a shot glass, a regular glass, and another glass. They were pretty nice, but I ended up getting Michelangelo, even though I wanted Leonardo, but I didn't buy the cups.
It's mainly because I'm quite serious. So next up was Gigabash. And moving on, because the less we say about Gigabash, the better.
Okay. No, I do want to say a little bit about Gigabash, which is I like the concept. The execution doesn't look great, but I like the concept. I wish like that,
I can see that being if that's got a 4-player local co-op, that could be quite good fun.
Yeah, and it kind of what it reminds me of is a mixture between now I forgot what the game was. It's a 2D side scroller where you just destroy the crap out of things. Rampage. It's like a mixture of Rampage and a battle system. Like I dig that. It looks poorly executed, unfortunately.
I mean, doesn't it just look like War of Monsters?
Yeah, and it gave me a vibe from a game that Brian Bentley played on stream, which would have been about 2-3 years ago now, which is about a giant. It was you play as some kind of warrior mech robot that delivers pizza, and you can destroy the town that you're meant to be delivering pizzas in. So it had that kind of vibe to it. But like I said, outside of having a group of friends to play this with, I would never touch this game. And
agreed. It seems like a party game.
Makes me wish somebody would make a proper, like, realistic game of kaiju as well.
Like what? By whom? That doesn't involve Hideo Kojima.
No, not Hideo Kojima. Jesus, I don't know.
No, because then he would write about it. If it was made by
cities as a monster.
If it was made by Hideo Kojima, we would spend more time with the people characters than with the monsters.
The ultimate way to make a good Godzilla film.
Right, so next up was a game that Evan may have made him rumble in his loins moderately until he realised that it was a fighting game. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R.
I don't even know what that is.
I've
heard of Jojo, but no.
It's just a fighting game based on the IP of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I need to start watching the actual show at some point, since Evan goes on about it so often, and it just looks balls to the walls nuts. You can't like.
No, Liam, you don't have time. Liam, you don't have time. In 11 days, the Halo show comes out, and that's going to be priority.
I'm interested.
Liam, you don't have time. There's Elden Ring to flagellate yourself with.
With a second playthrough.
The third playthrough.
Oh my god!
You really should go to do this.
You really should go play.
Go outside. Right. So next up was a really stylistic game that I thought looked quite beautiful, which is Trek to Yomi. which is a side-scrolling samurai fighting
Oh
game.
yeah. Yes.
I'm
I was almost like, wow, Ghost of Tsushima, why'd you come out last year?
I'm afraid I just don't want to play it, because quite frankly, I just don't want to play a game about feudal Japan that's made by a bunch of white people,
I think stylistically it looks great. I'm happy that they have a all Japanese cast. It looks like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I did think that was quite funny that they put up all those names.
And most people don't know who they are, unfortunately.
And 90% of all the people watching are thinking, who the hell are these people?
But I do give them credits too. I think stylized it looks really nice. I also think the combat system looks pretty good. I mean, obviously, we're spoiled a little bit with a full 3D Japanese samurai game that does do the combat really well. But I'm really interested in this one. This one looked really good. That
was the thing that I thought looked best out of everything that was shown.
And I'm shocked, as already playing Ghost of Tsushima, that I still want to go back and play something like that one.
Yeah, and also it had a bit of kind of Sifu vibe off it as well, and
a little bit,
slightly cartoonish. Obviously, the camera is set back, and it's not an over-the-shoulder third-person martial arts action game. The combat looked much more deliberate, which I quite like. That is, you're actually thinking about, my sword strike will just kill this person. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be mindful about what they're doing and what you're doing, rather than just kind of flailing fists.
Also,
not that you can do that in Sifu,
this one, comparative to Ghost of Tsushima, it seems as if like you can only take a few hits. Like this one, in the side scroller one, it looks like you make a mistake, you're dead. Which I appreciate, because it adds a little more hyper realism to the game, which I appreciate.
Is it going to get, with potential for a one-hit kill system? How long before someone mentions the word Souls like in their review?
I think it's more like saying it's not like Elden Ring, because every review will say it's not Elden Ring, so therefore it deserves this lower score.
Yeah, I'm going to guess first paragraph.
Yeah, me too. Because
I'll go.
Elden Ring. Really?
I'll go second paragraph. It will not be in the intro. It'll be in the combat explanation paragraph. So that will be second or third paragraph.
Right, and then next up was more details on Returnal.
Co-op? That's nice. And it's free.
They want to push some sales of that because it didn't perform particularly well. But it's not a Square Enix game, so they're not coming out announcing that it didn't meet expectations. And then you had Valkyrie Elysium.
Well, I was going to say, to its credit though, Returnal came out very early in the life cycle, so like it
also got screwed by the pricing mandate.
Yeah,
I think if that had come out at a lower price point,
it got stumbled by the price point. It got stumbled by being one of the first only PlayStation 5 games on the market. I think there's only a couple others before it, but like it came out 3 months after the console launch. Like I give it a little bit of a break.
I'd be very interested to know if say this Project Spartacus launches next month and Returnal's like their day one. I'd be very interested to see how well it does just by being there at that time, Because it's so much, playing it for free compared to £70. I didn't even buy it. And I have no interest in paying for it unless it's at least under 40.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason that video games should cost £70 or $70 other than the games industry wants more money.
Or if you're Star Citizen.
Well, if you're Star Citizen, it's probably this game will cost you probably around £1,000 or $1,000. And then, plus the insurance for all your ships that may or may not get blown up on top.
I feel like as if we are getting hijacked.
Off topic.
No, on topic. I feel like if we're getting hijacked gas prices right now, I feel as if the games industry could give us a break and give us a $10 discount.
Well, this is what's going on globally with the price of petrol. It's kind of be careful what you wish for. You can OPEC are making an absolute killing off of what's happening.
Yes,
and the ban on the import of Russian oil and gas.
I've seen
I've seen
$7
making obscene amounts of money.
Yeah, I've seen here in LA $7 a gallon. I've seen it. It's real. It exists. The highest gas price ever on record.
Yeah, that's nothing. We live in the UK. Your gas prices are pittance.
Pittance. But you guys have better public transportation, don't you?
Depends on where you live. So the last two is £1.84 a litre was, I think they were talking about one I saw there. So, and you get how many litres do you get in a gallon? 4 and a bit.
I'd have to look it up.
So write the conversion rate on that. You're over $10. So the Dio Field Chronicle and Valkyrie Elysium, which I'm pretty sure are JRPGs. So
0.26.
0.26. Swanland Valkyrie Elysium has him excited. Good for you, fella. It's a JRPG, it ain't for me.
Yeah, I always want to play more JRPGs, but I mean, at this point, I've just got a laundry list of them. So I'm never going to get around to playing any of these.
You put, 130 hours into Persona 5 Royal?
Yeah. No regrets on that one, though. That's a great game.
Hearing your third playthrough on Elden Ring, I feel like if you ever say that you don't have time to play a game, I feel like you're a liar.
I'm not really going to play it 3 times. It'll be an effort and a half to even get through a second playthrough. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'll get to the end of my first playthrough. So I'm just being, I'm just exaggerating.
Right. So that was a somewhat underwhelming state of play, and I know it wasn't necessarily. It was they managed expectations by saying it was going to be Japanese focused, so I wasn't really expecting much anyway. So if my expectation was met and my expectation wasn't that it was going to excite me, have they really done their job?
Yes. I think in context, when we talk about state of plays, everyone gets so crazy for these state of plays, thinking like the world is going to change with these state of plays. I see the state of plays as small updates, and then when they say we have a showcase, that's when they're going to show something big. At least that's what I think in my expectations.
Yeah, I don't dislike the format. I quite like the format. It's quick, it's sharp. It tells you that this is in development or this is coming out. It's not. They're not so regular that they can become ignorable, but they're not so infrequent that it leads to a level of expectation that this has got to be some massive news that's going to rock the world to its core. So I think Sony have actually got the format as good as they could possibly get it. It's way better than Microsoft. Jesus.
Yeah, I think. Well,
yeah. I'd say my number one problem with these kinds of events is they don't respect your time. But with PlayStation State of Plays is often I do feel sometimes they're unnecessary, but I don't feel like they're wasting my time. It's sort of like the thing that Nintendo Direct started by just trailer, over, done. But they don't sit around and waste your time with like some pointless shit that you could not give a crap about.
Give us an example.
Yeah, I'm confused by your example. I need an example. I'm confused.
What do you mean? Sorry.
What
who's been wasting your time?
Yeah, what pointless example could you give? Like, is it a game or is it the talking or what is it?
Two examples off the top of my head is CD Projekt Red and the 2 live streams they've recently done. Oh my goodness, just
Well, you said
sitting there.
Sony State of Play. That's where I'm confused.
No, you mean when I said that the state of plays have been unnecessary sometimes?
No, you just said like there's stuff in between that it feels like it wastes your time compared to Nintendo.
No,
No. I meant everything but state of plays.
Oh, gotcha.
Well,
okay.
Nintendo
Sorry,
Directs.
I gotcha. Okay.
I feel like that they're sometimes a bit unnecessary, but they don't waste your time like other events do. 20 minutes and you're done. That's great. It probably wasn't worth watching, but at least it was only 20 minutes.
True.
Yeah, and that's why being able to ignore it and then watch it later at 1.5 times speed, and then high speed scrub all the way through the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Get through that Bizarre Adventure real quick.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Mitch, which is rare. That people build these up to be something that they were never intended to be anyway. So I don't know. Those people have created this level of expectation for themselves and then blame Sony or Nintendo or whomsoever when their own expectations that they've set for themselves aren't met.
I do think like if you want to like talking about all of these in a whole, like all these types of state of plays and Nintendo's thing, I think if there's like, well, it's tricky because Nintendo and Sony do the same method, but they actually take it at a different approach. Here's Nintendo and they just go, we're going to show you all the releases for the games that are coming out in this chunk of time within the first like 4 months of this span. This is all the games that are coming out. Some of them are brand new, and then they'll like hint at some things that are coming in the future, but most of them are like, oh yeah, you get to play these in 4 months. Whereas Sony, the state of plays are a mixture. They're like, some of them are like, yeah, this is what you can play in a couple of weeks, or this is a new release coming out soon. And then they'll be like, oh, this is what's in development. And I think they approach it in different ways, and this is no inside baseball for me because this is all guess or just based off information we see before us. What I think is happening is, for the most part, is I think because Sony does other events and Nintendo doesn't really do events anymore, they use those events to do those kinds of announcements, and then they just use their state of plays to fill in the gaps. But I think overall, like I think both Nintendo and Sony do a really good job with these. I mean, they're consistent, which is one good thing. And I think they've created the expectation now of being like, this is what a state of play means. This is what a showcase means. If we're going to focus on a game, we're going to tell you way ahead of time so that like, oh, this is all about Ghostwire Tokyo. So I think they do a really good job in that way, so that most people aren't disappointed. And if people are disappointed, that's on you. That's on you, broski. Yeah, begging for the moon. Like, I think
Sony have got. So Nintendo started it, and I think Sony have done a better job of taking what a direct was and refining it into something different. I don't like Nintendo Directs. I don't like the way they're set up. I think there is an element of what Liam was talking about in that they do waste your time a little bit. You'll have someone standing there with a white screen behind them, and they'll just talk for a bit. I don't know or care who you are.
I disagree with a little bit, you Keith, because I feel like I would say 70% of the time. So I guess partially I agree with you. Like 70% of the time, they are giving you information while introducing their next game. Like they might give you like actual like description info that you don't get from when you actually are seeing the trailers. So like, and Sony does the same thing. Like the lady in the state of plays will like say a little bit of something right before she like introduces the game.
Yes, but that's just an outro and intro, and that's why I think Sony have got this down to a bit more of a T, because it's just state of play, trailer, outro, intro, trailer, outro, intro, and so on and so forth. Whereas Nintendo still have this thing is that they seemingly have to have someone stand in front of a bright white background and talk for a bit.
They lose their flair. That's their flair. That's their flavor. Tell me what's your flavor.
Part of it is me is that I don't really have much affinity with any Nintendo IPs.
I think that also, it is a issue for you in that situation.
I think one thing that people like about Nintendo Directs that they don't like about State of Plays is they find Directs to be more personable, I guess. But State of Plays...
I thought you were going to say that they've got Nintendo games in them.
Oh, well, there's that too, of course. But
I think also they have heavy hitters.
Of get what, I kind of get what people mean about State of Plays just feel a little bit uninteresting by comparison, I guess. I personally don't really care about that, as long as Sony brings it when they actually do a proper presentation.
Which they have, when they do.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure they will again, hopefully, sometime soon.
The other thing that I think Sony do better than Nintendo is, well, there's their games, which I prefer. There's their console, which can actually run modern games on. But we're just talking about the showcases and directs. Sony do a better job, like Mitch was saying, of emphasizing when something big is going to happen. Whereas Nintendo leave people to speculate more, as has happened in the last... Which was the one where everyone thought this was going to be the one where Breath of the Wild 2 came up, and then got really pissed off when it didn't.
I disagree with you slightly, because Nintendo has invented the Nindies. So that means hey, it's smaller games. And I think they do set a better expectation. Now, do they not tell you being well, if you look at the last Nintendo Direct they did, they announced a lot of great games, some big titles for them. Now, is it not actually, this will be interesting when Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, is to see if people go, oh my god, Elden Ring's a piece of shit. Look at this game now.
Well, that would be the new controversy, because Breath of the Wild 2 will have to score higher than Elden Ring.
Yeah, it has to. But anyway...
Because Elden Ring stole Breath of the Wild's idea for maps and not having quest logs, and so it couldn't have done
even though I can
better.
Name a few games that do similar type things. But whatever.
Which is interesting as well, because I saw the story on Sifted where someone has created an app that you can download for, and then they'll charge you $2.50.
Clearly,
and then it will run your quest log for you.
Clearly, they need a setting in the game to help people manage their quest logs. This is what frustrates me. And sorry, and it's hard for me because I don't like to be a person that speaks about a game I have not played, because I think that's hypocritical.
Doesn't stop me.
But I will just say, I wish the game already sounds like it, but I wish you could turn it off and on if you want to. Leave it for people that need it. You can still have the main setting be it where it's turned off, but then you can have a button where you want to turn it on, you can turn it on.
Oh, Mitch, but that's a slippery slope to easy mode.
Who cares?
There be dragons.
Oh my gosh!
Easy dragons that you can beat in one hit.
Stay on topic. Back to the topic. I do think Nintendo actually has a good way of setting expectations. It's the fans themselves that lose their crap, because that's just who they are. They speculate the world, they speculate the moon, and you know what? Guess what, fellas? I just thought about this now. Why are we not talking about Xbox doing any kinds of the events? Because they have no games to show. But it's true. They don't.
I feel personally affronted in the green T-shirt that's not quite the Xbox color.
Because think about it though. Every time they do a conference, they keep saying, "This is coming. This is coming. This is coming." We have a little bit of gameplay of these two things, but besides that, nothing else. I think maybe in the future they will focus on it more. It will be interesting to see if they focus on it more when they start putting out some output, which also is, their history is now starting to repeat itself all over again with another director leaving another big studio from Xbox.
Yeah, that was. So before everyone talks, I just want to refer to Swanland in the chat because he's such a nice, kind, and caring guy to me,
and wants to interact with us.
Yeah, he hates how people are calling Elden Ring the most accessible From Software game when it has no accessibility options of any kind. I disagree. I have heard it has got the most accessible option that you can do. If you're bad at the game and keep dying, you can stay in the same area and farm all of the enemies for hours and hours and hours to get yourself over leveled. That's accessibility from Software. So suck it, Swanland.
But you could do that in every From Software game.
All of those games.
I feel
That's
like
accessibility from Software.
Sorry, it's accessibility, but not innovation.
What I would say about what Xbox do, they do their This Week on Xbox that never gets any traction, is never posted anywhere other than their own YouTube channel, or it doesn't even flash up on my home screen on my Series X.
Well, the only way it would happen is if they actually put a big game on there, but they never do.
Well, no, because it's just announcements for other people's releases or what might be coming to or leaving Game Pass. That's the only things that they're talking about at the moment, which I can understand is this week on Xbox.
We got this third-party title. You like Lightning Returns? You like Lightning Returns? Be excited. Be excited. for a 7-8-year-old game. Be excited.
Yeah, Swanland's got to go. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. But yeah, I do see where you're coming up, Mitch. Is kind of like, what is there for Xbox to say other than
we're working on it?
We bought this studio.
This person
some
left.
Games,
we're announcing this person is leaving the studio. Be excited.
Please don't be disappointed that this senior development manager is leaving.
Who made probably one of the coolest Tomb Raider reboots ever.
Yeah. So
Liam's very disappointed. You can tell his face.
So I get why Xbox don't make any fanfare over anything because they've got nothing to make fanfare about. So unlike Nintendo and Sony, where I think what Microsoft are doing is something that I found happens at my work a lot, which is you celebrate the silence. Now, by that I mean if no one's having a go at you, everything's fine.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of true. Although I'm having a go at them. I will say that I think
unlike our competitor podcast, the world's most famous Essex-based gaming podcast, Idle Game Chat, we don't have a direct line to Big Phil.
Yeah.
No. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award-winning Big Phil.
You see, we were going to get a direct line, but then he said that I just can't get on board with the things that Mitch guy says.
No. He says I got a Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't need you because I really achieved so much by spending Daddy's money.
But basically, my thing with Xbox is I think because I think their E3 presentations for years have been pretty entertaining. Not terrible. Some were better than others.
The fact that you're saying that they're not terrible, like you're literally setting like it as a they're making a C plus, and C plus is like passing in America. Well, like they're just passing. They're not failing, but they're not like succeeding. But they're just passing.
The thing about their presentations is, although like a lot of their first party content may not be coming out for a while. A lot of the third-party stuff is of great interest to most people, I would say.
Yeah, and I want the main thing is they've learned from the massive bollock drop that happened when they launched the Xbox One, and they've never made
a full recovery.
Yeah, that was a real shit in your hands and clap next to your face moment. They're recovering from that, and it's taken them two console generations to figure that out,
and some.
So I've watched the Xbox presentations and thought this is an Xbox presentation. What's coming to Game Pass? Oh, I'm excited for that, and I don't have to buy it at full price. Whereas, and I think that's not necessarily a free pass, but it's more of a Game Pass that you can give to Xbox, because a lot of stuff they show, they're not asking you to for a huge cash injection, whereas PlayStation, Nintendo, here's all the stuff that you can play, and it will cost you $400,000. That's a slight over-exaggeration, but you know what I mean. It's literally until they announce this Project Spartacus thing and see what that's like. So it's. I can kind of see where Liam's coming from. If you set the baseline as average, Xbox are consistently hitting that B average.
Yeah.
Not even B. It's a C.
I disagree. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of stuff to enjoy there. I think my problem with Xbox, and the thing with us talking about this is it's with the caveat that things are going to get much better in the next year or two.
We hope. We're hopeful.
No, it is, Mitch. They own the whole of Bethesda. They will own the whole of Activision. Like, even if they can't sort out their own studios, they're going to have more than enough stuff across their whole.
Even though I love even though I love Bethesda so much and they make amazing video games
with only the best bugs, I heard.
Yes. With Bethesda and Activision, like they may make good games. Those are the properties I'm most interested in. I'm most interested in the ones that are made by their other studios, but they keep dropping the ball. Well, and I don't want them to. I want them to succeed. I want to play amazing games from Xbox.
The thing is, as well, is what they've done since E3 2020 is go far too radio silent on some of those other IPs, and it might be because things like Avowed had literally just started development. So Big Phil picks up the phone. We need something for E3 21. Got nothing for you. We've literally just done the story. We haven't even started coding for it yet.
Well, it's also the fact that like you got to add the element of not only that they just started on these projects that sorry, keep going. I completely forgot what I was going to say.
So I think this E3 or whatever Microsoft are going to do around the E3 window, this has got to be a B plus A, or because even I will start be thinking, what are you doing other than spending daddy's money? And
sorry, the other thing I was going to add is not only your point, is the other point is that like they can't just make announcements that like people are leaving, because then it makes people scared about a project. Like, and then if they show something, like they showed off Halo that first time, and that got real ripped, real hard.
Yeah, which is interesting because after the fact, some people at 343 said that they'd warned.
Yeah.
But they warned the executives at Xbox to say we're not ready for this.
But that's what happens when you have mismanagement within a studio where multiple people leave a project, and then your project is like circled around over and over again, had to be restarted multiple times. Like, no offense, but like, I guess we're turning this into partial Xbox news, but like the guy.
Well, we're talking about how each of the major publishers present
themselves, and Xbox really doesn't present themselves, and this is why they're not presenting themselves. But like, the initiative, like. The guy left the initiative. He's been there since the very beginning. And they've been working on a project for over 4 years. They announced the studio in 2018, and they still haven't. Like they said what they're working on, and not only that, they need another studio to help them finish the project. Now I understand, Liam, with your point about you saying that it's a smaller development team, and they do need, but multiple studios use other third-party studios without announcing, hey, we're partnering with this third-party studio to help us out with this game. Like it's big for them to say that Crystal Dynamics has to help us with this project. That's big. Because
Is it? But how do you mean big? Big of themselves to admit that they needed help, or big in the sense that this is actually turning. This could potentially turn into a shit show.
I think it's both. And you can say both, because I think it shows that, yes, are they willing to pivot when they have to? Yes. But I think it also shows that this is a history of mismanagement at Xbox, and whoever's running their studios, whether it's Big Phil or not Big Phil, I don't know who is head of Xbox Game Studios in regards to who am I thinking of? What's his name from
Matt Booty.
Is it Matt Booty for Xbox?
Yeah, Matt Booty's in charge of games.
Matt Booty shouldn't be doing this then. Or someone else should be doing it, because clearly this is happening consistently, and he is not supporting his studios to a point where they're able to do projects. Why was PlayStation so consistent with their stuff? They had someone like Shuhei Yoshida, who constantly was able to give feedback on their games and push the studios in the right directions to have them come out with these projects. Now you have Herman Host doing the same thing. And
I must also point out, Mitch, that one of the differences between the way Xbox runs Xbox Game Studios and the way PlayStation runs its studios is Xbox are actually quite hands-off. Every single studio within their company structure has a management structure that is basically responsible for everything going on in their studios.
But that's maybe an issue. That may be something that they should change.
Maybe it is. Let me finish. It's just maybe it is an issue, but the consequences of having a system like that is you are going to have manager fails, essentially, that aren't going to happen with the other kind of studio outline. So I think, while 343 have been having problems for years, from a manager perspective, at least until Joseph Staten came to the studio, which hopefully that's the end of it, hopefully. But with the initiative and all of that, I think that's more representative of the studio than it is Xbox. I think if you're being polite, because the thing is that these
Mitch, polite and Xbox are three words that will never come into the same sentence.
Sorry, I just want to say one thing. It's I'd rather have a guy working with the studio, and it, even though Shuhei Yoshida was hands-on, it didn't mean that he was forcing them to change directions. He was giving them feedback on the project to say, this is gonna do well, this is where you should fix it, or this project needs help because of this area. And it does force studios to rethink their projects a little bit and try to pivot to make sure it's right. And there is in the movie industry, and this is similar to the games industry, production and the creative have to come together and have to be able to balance, and to just give.
I don't think you should comment on movies at all. Your opinion on the Matrix Resurrections is just awful.
But just saying that that you should only give the creatives the full power is not always the smart way. You do need a balance, and I rather take. Let me finish. I rather take.
Okay, it's not the creative.
I rather take. I rather take someone more hands-on at Xbox and have Sony-type production in regards to polished games, good games, groundbreaking games, than to have them say, do what you want, and then you don't come out with the goods.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with this conversation. I don't think every game needs to be groundbreaking, and I don't think every studio needs to be groundbreaking. I think
that was a small amount of hyperbole from Mitch. Yeah. And in the grand scheme of things, for balance, we need to say that Square Enix is shit. And we should get back on topic.
Yeah, to get back on topic really quick, I do want to say that, I think a way that they could pivot and do more stuff in regards to announcing things and being more in the ether of getting state of play type things, or getting a Nintendo Direct type thing, is maybe they do a announcement each month where they're here are instead of doing that picture where they say these are the games coming to Game Pass. Maybe they should do an event where they go, okay, let's watch the trailers of the games that are coming to Game Pass. And that would actually be interesting.
Picking that up, even if it was just a 5 or 10 minute vignette.
Yeah.
By the way, one final thing, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming to Game Pass.
Yeah.
That would have been that would, rather than just put up an article and
an image. Literally, it's just an image on Twitter. That's all they do. I'm like, you guys, if this is your gravitas, if this is your primer thing, like, show it off. Like, people like it. Like, I'm not denying it. It's good. It's a good service. Like, it's good.
Basically, Xbox came in and rescued one of the best games of last year from the pit of oblivion because Square Enix is shit.
And they didn't meet sales expectations.
It didn't meet a sales expectation that they didn't help themselves by basically giving no marketing money towards it. Anyway, on the note that Square Enix is shit, I can't see Xbox actually doing it. I can't see them entering into the outside of the This Week on Xbox, which is basically 3 minutes at the most, 3 to 5 minutes of Major Tom just talking and saying, here's all the new stuff on Xbox, which they don't even publicize on their own services.
I mean, they're kind of behind the ball on social media to start anyway.
I don't even think they're going to bother. I think it's just going to be our big announcements happen at E3, and if we've got something big to say, we'll do our own thing at some other point in the year. Whereas that's the other side of the scale. That's the too little. But in the same respect, if you've got nothing to show, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Well, for a studio that, I mean, for a company that has like pivoted to the future, and like, hey, like, all props to them. They pivoted really, really well with doing Game Pass. You'd think they would pivot social media wise. They just really haven't been able to pivot.
I think their social media is good. It's just a little bit inconsistent. Because I'm
not saying it's bad. I'm just saying they're behind the ball compared to their competitors in social media.
Well, I'm not sure, because the thing with PlayStation is they have a huge social media presence. Like it's been like that for years. They've just been way ahead of Xbox, and to be fair to Xbox, they always do get a lot of press whenever they announce like some game coming to Game Pass, and I think the way that's done right now is great, because I don't want them to do a 5-minute presentation every month, because I kind of would feel like that's wasting my time.
You don't want a hype video for something that gives you a sneak peek at the new games coming to your service that you're spending your money on, and then gives you a fun surprise like Guardians of the Galaxy,
not if it's a game like Guardians of the Galaxy that's already been out for months, and we already have seen a whole shit ton of trailers for it anyway.
But isn't that the point of Game Pass though? Like, I guess you get all the first party stuff. I know you get all the first party stuff, but you're gonna get used games.
Right.
Games.
So wrap up.
Yeah,
Liam, finish your point, and then I want to retort.
Yeah, okay. But basically, I think in the future, what you guys are talking about could work when they actually have Activision and Bethesda, and hopefully their first party games all working in tandem. You know, I think, oh yeah, they literally could have something very interesting coming to the service every month. But as of right now, I don't see the point in it, because just hearing about something coming to Game Pass as a service is enough. I don't think you need a trailer. I don't think people are interested.
What I would say is, we're not hearing about it. Even if you are a Game Pass subscriber, the first thing that you see about being able to get Guardians of the Galaxy is it flashed up as an icon on the home screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just bought that game, and then the next day it flashes up saying, "Oh, you can get this on Game Pass now," and so more for you. No, that's a failure of messaging on behalf of Xbox. I do agree that once the acquisition with Activision goes through, and they say, right, so as of, I don't know, 1st of March 2023, every Call of Duty game up to this latest one is going to be available on Xbox. And they have a massive blowout of trailers of all of the historical Call of Duties. I think that's worthy of an announcement. What I'm trying to get at is, are they actually, going back to Mitch's point, because I'm trying to engage both of you in the conversation, is, are they actually going to get that? So, right, we've got all of this now. What do we do with it? And I'm not entirely sure, based on past experience, which is all we can base our opinions on because we don't know the future. Is that light bulb going to go off in someone's head and say, actually, we need to start doing something, not every month, that might be information overload and people will just get bored of it. But if we've got something that's coming up in 3 months' time, we've got a big announcement like the merger's gone through or the acquisition's gone through, you will now be able to play all of your Call of Duty games on Game Pass.
Here, I'll do you one better, McWomble. Is I think they could approach this one way, but like two different things. So like, you know,
I need more beer, so I'm going to go to the fridge. I will be listening.
Okay, so but basically, what I think is going to happen is, well, I think should happen is, you know, they have something called, I call it the GPP, the Game Pass Preview, which will be every single month they'll show off just the vignette of like, instead of an image, they'll show a vignette of trailers being like, here are the games coming to Game Pass. Be excited about this. Because they might have something like Guardians of the Galaxy at the end and be like, one more thing. And it actually is like, I would go crazy if it was Guardians at the end of it.
How long is this video, would you say? Just so I can get an idea of it.
No longer than 10 minutes, like 5-10 minutes, whatever it is to go through all I don't know how many well, the issue, I guess it depends on how many games you have coming to Game Pass and the importance of it, but at least as long as it's long enough to show like a tiny bit of a trailer, not a full trailer, but at least like a snippet of it, and then like, you know, the game at the bottom, and like, you know, it'll just show off the titles like a vignette. It's not too long, maybe 3 to 5 minutes,
or even the awards that it had won.
Yeah, make sure you show Phil there with his Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well, no, it's because Guardians of the Galaxy won some awards at DICE Awards.
But yeah, you could say that. Yeah, you could say that. And then the other thing, so that you do that as like your quote unquote state of Xbox or state of play, but it's going to call GPP, so Game Pass Preview, because that's all the games coming to Game Pass every single month. That's always announced every single month instead of doing the image. And then you can do an Xbox blowout case or whatever you want to call it, of like, you know, similar to the Sony showcase or the regular Nintendo Direct, where they actually make the bigger announcements there. And then they also could feed in like, oh yeah, this month here are the things coming to Game Pass as well, so then they can show off the things at Game Pass and it covers your GPP. But I think they can do both methods. I really think they should hype up Game Pass, because I think actually people would, I think for the most part, people would rather watch the video than look at the image on social media to know what's coming to Game Pass. And
or
I think
read the list that's published on IGN or
after, yeah. But at least like
a PC Gamer or wherever.
Like this is their big thing. Like make it exciting. And I think by putting just this image of like, this is coming to Game Pass, almost sounds like it's throwing those things, being like, oh, we don't like what we're giving you, but here's the, and then it's like Guardians. That's something worth announcing. Like, why are you not putting a video for that or something? So like,
yeah, I think you can spin it as well and say that we're bringing one of Square Enix's hottest new IPs to. There's ways of doing it.
We got one more thing. We got the hottest new property winner of this game award coming to Game Pass. Yeah.
And what I would say as well is there's different dynamics to this around who needs to try and who doesn't. And at the moment, Nintendo don't need to try. They could
not release Breath of the Wild for the next 5 years and people would still speculate about it.
Exactly. They could do every direct for the next I don't know, 3.5 years, and
they could do one a month. They could do one a month and everyone would still be hoping for Breath of the Wild.
So in terms of tiers of people who need work to do, Nintendo don't need to do any work. They will get all the eyeballs, all the hype that they could possibly want from any Nintendo Direct announcement that they will want. PlayStation, I think, are the next tier down, which is they need to do a bit of work around how they message their new service, which they haven't announced yet, but you get what I mean. So they're going to have to do something to say we've had this project which is going to be a direct competitor for Game Pass. Here's how it works. Here's what you'll get on it, so on and so forth. But we might hear that at the big E3, which is not the E3. It will happen the week after because Sony be Sony.
Well, there is no E3.
Where's that online weird thing again?
Yeah, now it seems like it's coming back, which I wish it would just die. Quite frankly.
It's gonna
E3.
It's gonna be Keeley's pretend E3, Summer of Games.
Well, to be honest, if E3 wasn't there, Keeley probably stands a pretty good chance of actually having some good stuff to show.
And then you've got Xbox who feel at the moment like they don't need to try
because they don't have anything. But I feel like they have things, but they don't feel like it's as important to show off, which I think they should show off because I think it is important.
Yeah, people bang on about Game Pass. I'm a Game Pass evangelist. I think it's one of the most innovative and consumer-friendly products in terms of gaming that's out there at the moment.
I'd agree.
Depending more on Sony does. But they make so little fanfare out of it outside of their annual presentations that it's almost as if they're allowing word of mouth to do the work for them, which will only get you so far. And what were they up to? Was it 22.5 million subscribers? If they put a little bit of work in, could they push that up to 35.5? Because at the moment, they're not doing anything.
Well, I just imagine, like, if you did the video, I imagine, like, the kid going to mom and going, Mom, look at all these games you get for $15 on my game if you give me a Game Pass subscription. Compared to, like, look at this image. And tell me, like, and then she'd be like, what the hell am I looking at? But if she sees, like, this game being, like, a vignette of this game being played, and she sees,
Mom,
like,
look at Keith talking
9,
about
10.
Game Pass on Pixel Pints.
Yeah.
He said it's a great value proposition.
But, like, the fact that, like, that's important. That would get, like, if Xbox is gonna double down on Game Pass, why are you not like what you kind of said, Keith, a while ago? You said, oh yeah, look at Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play, where it's like, look at all these games that you have to spend money on. Well, why isn't Xbox showing a video of something to hype up something you don't have to spend any more money on? Like, that's value.
Do you know what would be the biggest thing that they could possibly announce? Well, not the biggest thing that they can announce, but a big deal that they can announce. And since we talk about Big Phil spending daddy's money, Cyberpunk 2077 come to Game Pass. So as a hypothetical,
because it doesn't. I don't think because it doesn't work on the last gen consoles. It still doesn't.
It still doesn't. Okay, but is it just as a hypothetical? We go a couple of years down the line. They discontinue support for the OG Xbox Ones. Would at the moment, I'd be thinking, would they even bother announcing that, or would they just stick it on an image on their Twitter account?
Well, if it was Cyberpunk, yeah.
I would concede that I think they don't put enough press on, like, when they get big titles like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, there should be YouTube advertisements and everything really drilling into your brain that Guardians of the Galaxy and all of these other various games in, like, small little clips are on Game Pass this month. I think another problem that they have is on the Xbox store itself. It's sort of like the discoverability. I think they should create more excitement around, oh, look, this is coming to Game Pass next month and maybe the month after. Like, remind people that these games will eventually be on Game Pass.
Well, I think they do a good job already doing that with saying all their first party titles are coming, and then they say whenever they announce a third party title, they also have this coming to Game Pass.
We know they're coming. We know they're coming, but all of the people that could be more subscribers for them don't. And I think that's part of the problem.
Liam makes an interesting point, because if you look at the Game Pass app, you click in and it comes up with, so you've got your top picks. So when I log in, it's top picks for Keith. Underneath that will be coming soon.
Oh, see, I got mine is new, and I do it on PC. So mine is new releases and then coming soon.
Okay, so I've had both. So I'm guessing what they do is interchange new releases and top picks, depending on.
I've never had top picks be at the top of my screen.
Okay,
but it might be because you're on the console itself. You might have agreed to certain terms that it will like do that. I don't know.
I said Big Phil can have my kidneys if he needs them
for $15 a month.
Yeah.
$14.99.
But some of the ones on the coming soon are either it could be tomorrow, 6 months away, or a year away.
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's really odd. It's
I think they only do it to the ones that they've actually announced at like another showcase. Like they've said it's coming to Game Pass on a showcase. If it like the example of like,
but then
we
that's
don't know.
Really fucking stupid because with something as big as Guardians of the Galaxy, why wouldn't you make a fanfare?
Well, I think the issue is, and it might be this is it's more of the fact of like when the contract is signed, two. You don't want the game that you're bringing to Game Pass to lose sales the month before it comes to Game Pass by telling people or telling them many months ahead of time. Like the example I would give would be like,
do you think? I understand I understand the contractual obligations of it. What I don't understand is once you know that it's going to be announced on this date, because it wasn't like Guardians of the Galaxy was there on that day. Because
it was just announced a month ahead of time, but it was on the coming soon as it was announced. Like all the games that are on that image, on my version, that are at least coming to PC, always appeared up on the coming soon list.
It's for me. It flashed up as an icon of Guardians of the Galaxy next to the Game Pass icon. But if I actually went in, it wasn't on the coming soon list, but Stalker 2 is still on there, and that could potentially never come out now. Anyway, trying to draw us back into to get that fish hook back into your guys' gobs. From our own individual perspectives, who do we think gets it right in terms of how much information they put out and how? Obviously, Xbox wouldn't be on that list.
I'm only going to say Sony because I think they put statements after. Like they put up the state of play and then they go, we're just focused on Japanese. Or clarification, we are not talking about VR2. Like I don't see Nintendo do that. So like I would give Nintendo more credit, but like I think Sony actually does clarify, especially when fans are asking. Or gamers are asking.
They did it in the announcement for the state of play, like they always do.
Yeah,
like state of play happening then.
But then I think they also re-clarify as well for people. Like I think they made a second statement in their tweets.
No, they never made any second statement.
Sorry, no. I'm sorry. When I mean a statement, I just mean they reply to their own tweet to just reply with a second clarification. Like I've seen them do it before
because they get all of the information in the original tweet.
No, this one was a reply to an actual fan. So like they because someone was like hyping up that it was going to be VR2, and they're like, no, it's not VR2. Just being
if they would just read, then maybe they would know.
But regardless, they're ahead of the curve. They set expectations, which I think helps the situation.
I'm going to go Sony then Nintendo.
Yeah, Sony and Nintendo, yeah.
Unless there's an element of IP bias in there from me, which I will admit.
I think the tricky part with Nintendo is like if Nintendo wrote down as much as Sony did in regards to their statement of what they're showing, like being like, there's no Breath of the Wild 2. Like I think if they said that, like people would calm the F down.
Or they did do that, but they let it ramp up to a level where
it's uncontrollable.
Them saying, it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. It's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. It's going to be Breath of the Wild 2.
10 minutes before the show.
To see any big announcements it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. It had reached a point where they could have...
Can't stop the train.
I think if you are a normal person that can control
I'm definitely
yourself...
not a normal person. You've known me for a while.
Do we know... excuse me. Do we know gamers? I mean, come on.
I mean, I'm certainly not a normal person either, but I'm just saying, like, people lack that part of their brain that helps them manage expectations. They just go freaking crazy with everything. And I think, like, I like the way Nintendo does stuff because, they don't want to give you all of the information. They want to make you actually have a good, like, think about it. If you're not a big Nintendo fan, I can understand why that's annoying. But if you are,
make you think about it. No, they're purposefully.
Yeah, that's what I hate.
In the
manipulating
absence of information, people will create their own.
That's what they're...
Yeah, but at the same time, it's nice to watch the presentation and wonder what the next thing they're going to show is going to be. And most of the time, it meets my expectations because I have my expectations in check. And I'm like,
I have my expectations in check when I watch a Nintendo Direct. I am not going to give a single shit about anything they say.
Well, I think the difference.
That's the thing. You're never going to control those people that have their expectations wildly. And they're just the kinds of people that would comment on PlayStation or Nintendo's posts on Twitter. And think they're actually listening to them. Yeah.
Well, I think what I don't like about. And I like Nintendo's properties, and I enjoy their directs. I enjoy the things Keith doesn't enjoy in the directs, which is sometimes the talking that they do. But what I think that they do, which frustrates me as a fan as well, is I do like understanding my expectations in check. You can tell me that there's no VR2 and still be excited about all the stuff that could come out. You could tell me it's all Japanese things, and I could still be excited about what is coming out and still be surprised. Heck, we had a couple surprises thinking we had a freaking Dino Crisis game for about 3 minutes, and then we realized it wasn't Dino Crisis, thank God. But the fact that we could still be surprised and still hold us to expectations and help us, I think is good for everybody, because then you lead to toxicity, people being mad, people being frustrated, and it's like it doesn't have to be that way. It's manipulation that doesn't need to happen.
So what we're basically saying is Nintendo are to blame for the war in the Ukraine because they didn't release Breath of the Wild 2 when Vladimir Putin thought that it was going to be announced at the last Direct.
Because he wanted to be loved.
Yeah, he just desperately wants to be loved. I've also heard some rumours to say that Vladimir Putin completed all the Souls games without dying once and never leveling up his character.
And he completed it in 3 minutes. There's a video.
Speedrun it.
There's a video. Yeah. His hand does cut through the controller, but I feel like that's I still feel like.
Well, he had a team of Russian hackers break down From Software's game so that he could just press the A button and it says you won, and he said I won the Souls game.
It took him 3 minutes to hit the A button.
This just came in. This just came in, Keith. Kim Jong-un says he completed it in 2 minutes, so
Right, I think we've exhausted ourselves since we've taken the piss out of Vladimir Putin, which I think everyone should possibly do. The more you make someone who thinks they're a powerful person seem foolish through comedy is a brilliant thing, and something that the British people have been doing for many, many years.
And on that note, we're out. Basically, you just made yourself look better because you said British people.
Always the goal.
Well, yeah. The thing is, I don't mind looking bad. It depends on if I believe I'm great. But I'm not one of these people. Yeah, if I'm not like one of these people I'm basically